Hey guys, it's Angela, and today I'm going to be talking about books that intimidate me. So before I get into it, sorry if my voice kind of sounds weird. I don't know why it sounds like this. I think I'm getting sick. But yeah, I'm going to be talking about books that intimidate me. And some of these intimidate me based on their size and others based on their content. So let's get into it. The first book I want to talk about is Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. And this intimidates me for a lot of reasons. So I've actually started it, as you can see from the top. But this intimidates me, one, because of how loved it is, two, because there's a lot of footnotes, and three, the size of the font. And I feel like I can't really say anything because my handwriting is about this size. So, like, why am I complaining about the size of the font in this book if I write that small? But overall, this book just really intimidates me. And I'm about 68 pages in, and it's kind of slow so far. There's a lot of footnotes, and I feel like when I read the footnotes, it kind of takes me out of the reading, and it's a whole like adjustment process. But this book definitely intimidates me because so many of my friends love this and it's their favorite book, and I'm so scared that I'm going to finish it and not like it. So yeah, Nevernight. I hope to finish it maybe by the end of 2019. I almost said 18. 2019. But yeah, I will get around to this eventually. It's still marked as currently reading on my Goodreads, so hopefully that will kind of push me to finish this sooner than later. The next book is The Stand by Stephen King. And I've heard a lot of people say that Stephen King's work intimidates them, which I totally get. He has a lot of books. His writing tends to be extremely detailed, and his books tend to be really long. And this particularly intimidates me because, yes, it's a small brick. I mean, literally, you could just like put that right in the side of someone's house. So that intimidates me. The pages of this book are like the Bible. Like, they are so thin. So, like, 100 pages is like this, and it barely looks like you've read anything, but you've read 100 pages. So yeah, the longest book I've ever read was It by Stephen King, and that's around the same length, and I absolutely loved it, and I do want to reread it. But this book just particularly intimidates me because of the size, because of the length, and I think also this specific mass market paperback, because it is so small and the pages are so Bible thin, it feels like when you're reading, you're not getting anywhere. I am really interested in reading this book though, because I know how loved it is within the people who love Stephen King, so hopefully I'll get around to it sooner than later. The next books I want to talk about I actually don't own, but those are the Game of Thrones books, or I think the Song of Ice and Fire. And these books intimidate me for several reasons. One, I've never seen Game of Thrones, and I know that's like kind of shocking because I feel like everyone has seen it and like a lot of people love it, but I've never seen Game of Thrones and I know how loved it is. So I just feel like automatically if something is like super well loved, I become afraid because I don't want to be that one person to be like, meh. So yeah, that's definitely a factor. Also, I mean, these books are thick, they're so long, there's so many characters. So I've heard that it's helpful to like read one book and then watch the season of the show and kind of go back and forth because there is so much. And although I don't own these books, I do want to buy them eventually. There's these really cute editions that I want. I'll put a picture on the screen. But yeah, these books absolutely terrify me because I know how loved the show is and I don't want to be that one person that doesn't love it. I also am intrigued though because I want to know like what the hype is about and why everybody loves these books and this show so much. And I also want to know why people were so disappointed with the last season because I saw a lot of that on Twitter, a lot of people live tweeting their thoughts. So like I want to be in the know about things, but I'm also extremely intimidated to get there. The next book is Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. Now this book is thick and heavy, but it's actually like 900 or 800 something pages. So the size of this kind of intimidates me, but not really. What really intimidates me is the fact that there are so many characters that you have to keep up with within this story. The plot of the book itself sounds extremely interesting and I do really want to read it, but I feel like it's one of those books that you have to take notes when you're reading it because you just have to find a way to be able to keep up with all these stories. And that kind of stresses me out because I don't always like to take notes when I'm reading. I'm definitely more of a pleasure reader. I read for fun, so to constantly be taking notes during the experience, I feel like would kind of suck some of the fun out of it for me personally, but that's just my opinion. But nonetheless, I do really want to read this. I've heard so many amazing things about it. I just kind of need to do it. Just like suck it up and do it, and then understand what all the hype is about. And next we have Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. Now, the size of this doesn't intimidate me at all, but the content does, because I know that Jane Austen is really loved and this is considered a classic, and I'm very interested in reading it, and I do plan to read it during one of these upcoming months because this is a fellow booktuber's favorite book, and I do want to know what the fuss is about. But I also feel like classics in general just really intimidate me because I feel like they're kind of put on such a high pedestal, and I feel like if I'm to say that like I don't like a particular classic, like people might question my reading taste or something. I don't know, just classics in general really intimidate me, and this is one of them that I'm extremely interested in reading, but it does intimidate me a bit because I'm afraid that I won't like it. I mean, I'm sure I will like it, but still, it's just like I've said a million times in this video, it's just going into something that everyone else loves and you're expecting to love, and what if you don't love? It just kind of makes me anxious. So yeah, Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I also do want to read all of Jane Austen's works, but I feel like this book specifically is the most well-known, so that's why I've included it in this video. And if you're wondering, this edition I got at Target. It's a Word Cloud Classic edition, and they're super cute. I'm actually in the process of collecting these editions because I do want to expand my classics collection, and I do want to expand my reading taste by delving into more classics. So all the books I've talked about so far in this video, I can definitely see myself reading, apart from maybe Game of Thrones. That might be something I might just watch. But everything else that I've talked about in this video, I can definitely see myself reading except for this. And that is Les Mis by Victor Hugo. I don't really want to try to pronounce the title because I don't want to butcher it, but this is also a Word Cloud Classic. I don't know why I want to say world, but it's a Word Cloud Classic. I ordered this off of Amazon, I think. I know Target sells some of these, but not this specific one. And this book is just so thick and so long. I've seen the musical once. I have it on DVD, but it's been a hot minute since I've seen that. So I feel like if I were to read this whenever that time in my life comes, I definitely want to rewatch the musical prior to starting the book because I want to be able to, see where some differences may be and just be refreshed on the story in general. But yeah, I mainly bought this book because I knew it would look good on my shelf because look how cute it is. And I do want to read it. I'm friends with someone who is actually reading it, and she is slowly but surely making her way through it. And I feel like this book is just something that I would have to dedicate a lot of time to. And at this point right now, taking 7 college classes, I'm not really ready to dedicate any extended amount of time to any book, really. So this is definitely something that hopefully I'll read down the road. And by down the road, that might be like 10 years, I don't know, but hopefully eventually I'll get to it. So those are all the books that intimidate me. I would love to know what books intimidate you in the comments down below. And as always, thank you so much for watching and have a good one.